it's Christina from Redefine Creative, and I am here with a traveler's notebook process video today for Stretch the Sketch. And so we are working with this 12 by 12 sketch that you see on the screen, and I decided to make it into a traveler's notebook layout, and I have these 4 pictures that I want to use from a trip to an arcade. And so I'm going to make 2 of them small, and I started out making them 2 by 2 and decided that was even still a little bit larger than what I wanted them to be. So I end up going back and I'm actually going to trim them to like 1.5 by 1.5, and I like that a lot better. It still gives you like the full look of what's happening in the pictures, so that's not a big deal. And it works a little bit better in that space. And then I have the 2 others that are 2 by 3s, and basically my photos are going to go lined up on this right hand side of the traveler's notebook spread. And I am of course going to back them all with white cardstock because that just seems to be what I do lately. So I'm going to stay pretty true to the sketch, but I'm going to put my layers together with something a little bit different than pattern paper. So I decided I wanted to use these ticket strips as the strips that were in the photo. So the photo, they look like either pattern paper or washi, which would totally work for this technique too. I'm just going to use these tickets, and they're a little bit brighter than what I wanted them to be. Like I want them to look a little bit grungier and kind of match in with my black background. That's also going to kind of help my photos stand out if the tickets aren't quite so bright. So I just take some black ink and rub it across the top of them. And it's going to tone them down and make them kind of fit a little bit better. And then I'm just going to run those strips of tickets across my 2 pages. So if you've seen me creating in my traveler's notebook before, you know that I tend to create as one continuous page. And then my very last step is to split it down the middle. And that's exactly the same technique I'm going to use on this particular layout. So I'm going to go ahead and glue my strips, and I'm going to have them at kind of all different lengths. So some of them are just going to be on the right side of the layout, and some are only going to be on the left, and then some of them are going to continue over to the right. And I'm just kind of staggering that length. I'm only using half of those double tickets, so it's like a 1 ticket strip at a time. And then I'm going to finish out the rest of the layout with the rest of the leftovers of those ticket strips. And these were ones that came in the Creative Cuts Club, but these are just ones you could pick up anywhere. I know they have them at Party City or anything like that in all kinds of different colors. And so I've just done red, lime, and yellow, and that goes really well with the arcade pictures that I am scrapbooking. So this is for Ty's Traveler's Notebook. And if you've watched my Traveler's Notebook videos before, then you already know this, but if you are brand new around here, I create Traveler's Notebooks for inserts for each of my kids, and I write, each one is written as a letter from me to them, and it's just a way that I kind of record some of the smaller stories, and so that's where this particular layout is going to go. And so I went ahead and added some black and white washi tape strips to a few places along my tickets, just kind of building up that area. And I'm going to keep working on adding some additional embellishing over there because this is such a small layout and there's not a ton of room. And even in the sketch, there's not a ton of embellishing. So I'm going to kind of stick to my tickets and those strips as where my embellishment is going to kind of end up living. I do want to get a few little epoxy flare in this particular page layout, and I love those because they come with the foam adhesive on the back, or you can decide you don't want the foam adhesive and you can just use them flat, which is what I will do here in my Traveler's Notebook. I am going to take these tiny foam alphas from Paige Evans and spell out my title, which is just going to say Arcade Love, and that's going to sit kind of in that really colorful space at the bottom of this particular photo. So the top photo has Parker and Ty both in it, playing, I think they're playing a pinball game or something like that. And then the other 3 pictures are just some close-ups of some of the games that they played. So Ty is definitely our arcade aficionado. He loves going to the arcade. Loves all the games. So every time we go anywhere out of town, he always wants to find some cool arcade that they have there that he might not have been to, or cool games that he hasn't played before. And so this particular one was a penny arcade that we found when we went to San Diego on, I think it was a fall break trip. So that's where these particular pictures came from. So then I'm going to take the 2 clusters I've already built and add a couple of these little puffy sticker plus signs. I am going to have a 3rd embellishment cluster, and so what I did was take a library card, which is something that I use often for journaling, And I'm roughing it up a little bit with that black ink so that it's going to fit with the feel of the rest of the layout. And that's where my journaling is going to go. And I'm also going to have another embellishment cluster that lives kind of over in that area so that whoever's looking at this page, or when Ty is going back reading this page, his eye will go to both sides. So I have a third little epoxy flare, and I'm going to add another little one of those puffy sticker plus signs. And then I take some Small Talk from Tim Holtz, which are my favorite phrase stickers ever, and they have black and white, so I'm going to use the black ones. And I'm just looking for phrases that kind of go along with the arcade theme of my page, and I'm going to scatter those throughout my ticket strips as well. So I'm going to have just kind of looking for all the phrases that might fit. I want them to be kind of randomly spaced throughout the layout, just like I did with the washi tape. So I'm not necessarily trying to put them in the same place. I do play around down here on the bottom with the placement a little bit because I want to make sure that when I cut my layout in half to go in my traveler's notebook, that it's not going to cut a word in half. So I do line up the spaces to make sure that the spaces in between the words line up with that center point of the page, so that it's going to go ahead and not be cut off, but it's going to continue throughout the entire layout. And once I have all my phrases on there, I am basically done. I am going to add journaling to that card so that it is going to be in that same format as every other page, where it has the story kind of written out to Ty about his love of arcades. And then I'm just going to add a few of these little enamel dots to each one of my clusters. I do wait until I am completely done with the layout before I cut it in half and put it inside my actual traveler's notebook like insert. But that's going to do it for this one. So there is kind of the final layout before it is cut in half, as well as like a little closer look at some of my embellishments. And then I go ahead and show you where I trimmed so that you can kind of see how I split those word phrases up to go across the page. And that's basically going to do it. Do make sure you click down below and check out everybody else playing with this sketch today, and I'll be back to see you soon. Bye, everybody.